Well, you remember her as a person who illuminated stages and movie screens all over the world. One of the most celebrated musical comedy stars, actresses. She did it all. She's what we knew as a triple threat, and there were so few of them at any time in the history of show business that when one steps forward, they seem to stand out more than the others. But, my dear, what happened to her? We'll talk about that today. Let me just take you down memory lane for a moment. This is from the score, the soundtrack of the movie Annie Get Your Gun. Listen to this.
I'm quick on the trigger with targets not much bigger than a pinpoint of number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you kindly welcome Miss Betty Hutton right here.
The crystal gets to shine like the morning sun. But I lose all luster when the bronco stops the road. You can't get a man with a gun.
Sound great. I mean, they don't write them like that anymore. And they don't sing them like that anymore. Betty Hutton, you look like $4 million. You look
thank
fresh
you.
and alive.
Thank
well,
you.
what happened to you? Let's start.
Okay.
You were, the movies you made, well, I don't want to talk about years right away. That's not very
okay.
tactful. Well, when was Annie?
1950, I believe it was. Wasn't it released? I mean, 1950, yeah.
And starred everybody. Was Howard Keel your...
Howard Keel. I was the star of it, and Howard Keel. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And since that time, somehow you suddenly just sort of disappeared.
I sure did.
Well, does that mean that you just decided that you take all your money and sort of eat bonbons and call people on a French telephone?
I didn't have any money, Phil.
Really, you didn't?
No. 6 years, of course, before, when you get to be 40, really, a woman...
Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, you know, no, not for a man. For a woman star, it's over, and you have to really face that. If you must get in there early. Fortunately, I started at 3 years old. My mother was a bootlegger, and I sang in all the places that she ran, you know. And then by 13, I was with Vincent Lopez singing. I was on Broadway by 15, and then I was in Hollywood by 19. So I had kind of a long career, but at 40, things started going a little downhill. TV was really a big thing by then, you know.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of marriages had gone down the drain, and the last one was particularly a nightmare for me. Without explaining all that scene, 6 years ago, I had a total emotional breakdown. And I went to New England. And thank God I went there, because those people, I don't know if you all have ever been to New England, they are so warm. And I really thought nobody cared anymore about me. And they didn't, you know. They'd all aced me out because I was taking pills to try and kill myself. I was winding up in mental hospitals. Not because I was crazy, but because that's where they take you off of pills. There's no place to remove you from pills except in a psychiatric ward.
Where they are in charge and you're literally locked up.
You are locked away and your freedom is taken from you. And I really was becoming terrified, but at the same time I didn't want to live. And each time I was trying to knock myself off, some marvelous person was saving me. And Father McGuire saved me the last time. And from there on, I went to become his cook in Portsmouth. And they didn't know who I was, and he didn't know who I was when he found me, because I was using a different name. And he came to this particular hospital. He had a lot of very bad cases there, people not wanting to live. And he just became interested in me, and I told him I could cook and I didn't want to stay there. So because I was locked up and terrified, he brought me there. And I wore a black wig then. No one knew who I was. And for a few months, I really enjoyed just being the cook and scrubbing the floors. And I had a marvelous old priest who was 95. I took care of around-the-clock nurses and 3 priests. And it was a ball, but suddenly they found out who I was. You know?
And then media started.
Yeah, but what happened, Phil? I was baptized. Finally, I had to tell Father who I was. He said, well, who's that?
Oh, wow. I know, that happens to me.
Very good for your ego, you know? Yeah. I said, you mean you never saw me in the movie? He said, no, I never go to movies. So that was great. He loved the sick, frightened human being. I was not who I was, you know. So when I was baptized, I said, Father, please don't let the media know. He said, oh, that won't matter. I'll just tell the Catholic paper.
Oh, yeah.
So he was so sweet and so nice. I said, okay, I couldn't stop him from doing that. Oh, maybe it would be all right, just the Catholic paper. It's a small little town. Well, he told the Catholic paper that in walked CBS, NBC, and all the networks, and he almost went mad. Well, from there on, Phil, it became quite sad because people then thought I was using my religion as a gimmick to be in show business. And then I said, to hell with it, and I said, I'll take some more pills and try to kill myself. So after my baptism, I didn't just get close to God. It's taken 5 years of the nightmare continuing to be easier in my heart. And for people in New England to accept me and to understand it had nothing to do with show business. I don't want to be in it. I had all that, you know.
I understand.
And I love God. That's no act. And now they know that. So, but it took all this time for them to accept me, you know. So 1 year ago, when I really felt that I was ready to work, I said, Father, I really have to get a job because I'm getting an ulcer even, you know. I have to see the people and feel them again. How can I get a job with people? So this marvelous thing called highlights, which I said, what's a highlight? I didn't know. And I went there this night. Mrs. Sylvester, the owners, invited me over, and they had no job openings. I just wanted to be a hostess, anything. It didn't matter, a waitress. I didn't care. I had to work again. I was dead broke. And so she took a liking to me, and that night she said, would you like to present a trophy? And Sully, who's in PR, said, I'll take you down to the court where the players are. And so I went in there, and I was terrified that they too would say, who's that? Or go boo, something horrible would happen. And when they introduced me, they stood up in a standing ovation. And I said, you know, this is it. It's show business again. And my God, they applauded. It was like I was on again. I said, this is it. This is where I'm going to work. And that's how it happened.
Well, you're certainly a happy person.
Oh, boy,
it's clear that you've come a long way from wherever you were at the time you were. Let me just cover some of the things briefly, and I know the audience wants to. I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I don't want to squash your spirit, but I would like to cover a couple more things about. One of the reasons, Betty, that I think media kind of came down on you is because the story of the star who has fallen has become really a fascinating part of American folklore.
Yes.
I think it's the reason for the success of Star is Born. It's reminiscent of Marilyn Monroe, who, unlike you, did not make it back from the bottom of an emotional.
Right.
And we have countless examples of that.
Yes.
I guess I want to know more specifically how you went from Annie Get Your Gun to scrubbing a priest's floor, without any attention at all. I don't know whether anybody could emotionally survive that kind of...
Well, you know, Phil, I've sometimes said that if it weren't for those pills, the downers, that kept me under control, I think I would have gone mad. Because, see, all my life I've been a performer. I didn't know anything else. And when, at 40, all the marriages were gone, there was no love.
You married 4 times?
4 times.
Help me now.
Yeah,
Were there any famous husbands?
No, I was a man from Chicago, the multimillionaire Ted Briskin I married. It was the Revere Camera Company in Chicago. No, there's no one famous.
But were all of the marriages...
Well, they didn't. They loved Betty Hutton. They didn't really know. I mean, that's really not their fault. I guess I kind of lived in that camouflage, phony world.
Could Betty Hutton have married anybody that loved her for herself?
I don't think anybody did. I think I was that person. I didn't really find me until this breakdown.
Is a movie star trapped then inevitably?
Oh, yes.
You think so?
Oh, yes, I do. I think that's why there aren't any happy marriages for a star. I think how many women stars do you know with a happy marriage? I don't know any. A lot of men stars make it because they don't marry a movie star, you know. But it's very difficult to marry a star, very difficult.